And we are live on Facebook. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another New Jersey Constitutional Republicans virtual conversation. It's my great honor and privilege tonight to have Mr. Khaleel Carter and my good friend Saleem Trice on tonight. Gentlemen, welcome to the program.
Thanks
a lot, JR. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
It's a great pleasure, and I'd like to start with introducing Khaleel. If you could give us a brief bio about yourself and introduce yourself to our audience tonight.
My name is Khaleel Carter. I'm a Muslim revert. I reverted to Islam in 1993. I traveled to Egypt to study Islam in 1998, and I did that from 98 to 2003. I traveled back and forth, and it was a traditional style of studying where I went to certain Islamic scholars, and I would stay with them for a certain amount of time, and then I would leave and maybe go to another scholar, or I would go between different scholars. And in 2010, I graduated from the Islamic University by the name of Mishkat with a bachelor's in Islamic studies. And in 2021, I graduated with my master's degree in Sharia, Islamia, or Islamic jurisprudence. I also attended Catholic school from first grade to the 12th grade, with the exception of 6 months where I went to public school in Louisiana for 6 months. But I went to Catholic school from first to 12th grade. I was an altar boy when I was in Catholic school. And then I attended Bethune-Cookman College, which is a Baptist university, from 1992 to 93.
Very good. Well, it's great to have you on the program, Khaleel. Saleem, give us a little brief bio about yourself for the audience. Of course, many are familiar with you. We've had a few discussions, very good conversations. But Saleem, give us a brief bio about yourself, please.
Sure, no problem. So as your audience may be familiar with me, let me just reintroduce myself. My name is Saleem Trice. I'm originally from Jersey City, New Jersey. I went to school at a college called ASA where I studied accounting. Then after that, I went for my BA in economics and political science. And then subsequent to that, I graduated with a master's, which I currently hold in political science. I currently work on various things. One of those things is a research think tank that go by the name of Mind Mechanics. And pretty much what we do is target various issues that plague inner city communities. And we present public policy formation and public policy recommendations to the government in hopes that they can rectify it. So we kind of outline or give a blueprint on the steps that they can take to rectify these problems that we see inner city kids facing in today's times. In addition to that, I currently operate a podcast as well, which we try to air every week or every month, every 2 weeks. Unfortunately, the logistics and the timing has been a little off, but it will come back. And that's currently what I do as of now.
Well, it's great to have you again, Saleem. We've had some great discussions on justice as being topics that we've discussed before. And I just wanted to share the screen with the audience, and that's not what I was looking for. Just give me one moment here. And I wanted to provide the video that we had put up. There we go. And this is the initial video that we put up. We did a presentation with William Fetter, who is the author of many books. One of the books that he had written was What Every American Needs to Know, or Should Know rather, about the Quran. And we put the video up. And I'm very happy that Khaleel was able to watch the video, and he made this statement as a reply, as a comment, and he said, distortion of Islam. intentionally or out of pure ignorance. And this provided the impetus for this discussion. And as all who are aware, we believe in presenting all views, giving everyone an equal opportunity to speak. We believe in free speech, of course. We believe it's very important, something we need to protect. And that's why, and then Saleem had, we actually Khaleel and I went, had a discussion on certain things. You can read, it's a very informative thread. It's a very educational thread. And I appreciate the manner in which the discussion was held. And immediately I've got a lot of respect for Khaleel, and I'm very happy he's here today. And I want him to give us why he believes some of what, William Federer presented is a distortion of Islam. So in all fairness, that's why we're having this program. Take it from there, Khaleel, if you'd like to start, or Saleem, and give us the reasons why you believe that presentation was a distortion of Islam.
Bismillah wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillahi wa ba'd. Myself and Saleem, we both reviewed the video together, and we picked out certain things that Mr. Federer had mentioned that was not correct about Islam. We're not going to correct everything that he said, but there was some, really, really important things that he mentioned that was totally wrong, and distortion of Islam. So Saleem is going to be the one who's going to actually mention the different points or the different things that we noticed from the video that was wrong or incorrect. And I will actually mention different evidences from the Quran as well as from the Sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Right now, before we get started, Khaleel, could you translate for us in English what it was that you said prior to giving your ideas on?
I said, Bismillah. I said, in the name of Allah, in the name of God, and may the peace and blessings be upon the Prophet Muhammad.
Very good. Thank you for that. Now, that is the Arabic dialect?
Yes, that is actually what I mentioned is from the classical Arabic dialect, mostly used by the Quraysh back during the time of the Prophet Muhammad.
Fascinating. And I attempt to pronounce a lot of the words that I read and have looked into. So you'll have to forgive me if I make mistakes in some of the pronunciation. But I try to be as accurate to the pronunciation as possible. But Saleem, why don't you get us started and give us some of the points that you identified in Bill Federer's presentation, which you think are incorrect.
Absolutely, and I appreciate the opportunity. So one of the first things that I immediately identified as, let me just say this before I even get started. I felt that the presentation within itself, it lacked a certain degree of authenticity. So one of the purposes that we are on this platform today is to kind of air it out, but it's also to kind of introduce some clarity in regards to some of the inconsistencies that we feel was represented. One of those inconsistencies is the issue of Islamic fundamentalists. It appeared that Bill was sort of equating Islamic fundamentalists with this certain aspect of extremism. And we felt that was inconsistent, largely because we understand Islamically that fundamentalists, are the foundation rather, is pretty much a description of those who stick to fundamental principles of their core belief. Now, with that being said, Khalil himself is much more versed and much more knowledgeable in regards to these issues than I am. So I'm going to punt it to him so that he can give his articulation with regards to the actual subject matter at hand.
Well, the word fundamentalism, as translated in Arabic, or the equivalent to the word fundamentalism in Arabic, is usuliyya. And they both have the same meaning, because the word usuliyya comes from the word asl. And asl in Arabic means like the foundation. And it's ma yubna alayhi, ghayru. It's something that, it's the foundation and, is built upon. So the fundamentals or the fundamentals or fundamentalism is, as Saleem mentioned, is the basic core beliefs, laws, or rules of anything. Okay. And fundamentalism does not equate with extremism unless these fundamental beliefs are extreme themselves. So, because we know extremism is, basically to, exceed the boundaries, is a deviation, from the foundation. Okay, it's actually a deviation. So Islam itself is not extreme, because the Quran clearly states, that Allah says, and we made you a moderate nation. You're moderate. So Islam itself, right? So it's a moderate religion, it's not extreme. And to equate, the fundamentals of equate fundamentalism with extremism is definitely definitely an injustice, and to Islam, because it's definitely not extreme in any of its core beliefs or principles.
And the audience can relate, especially the Christians in the audience can relate to the fact that there have been, throughout history, there have been Christians that have been violent, or that have been what we call fundamentalists. And this occurs within Islam. Is that safe to say? It's very complex. There's not one sect. We have many denominations in Christianity. And Khaleel, you're well aware of this. There's many different beliefs, many different denominations. And within Islam exists the dichotomy, I guess, between what we would call the Sunni and the Shia, in that argument going back to who would be the rightful successor to Muhammad, which you can explain better than me, but that is a division that's existed within Islam for 1400 years. And of course, there's divisions all throughout Christianity. So we just can't take a broad brush and say that every Muslim is violent or that every Christian is violent. And this is why we're having this discussion, to talk about the complexities that exist within both faiths. But you could elaborate on that a little bit more, Khaleel, about the difference. It's almost, you could equate it to maybe Roman Catholicism and Protestantism in Christianity, as far as the Sunni and the Shia. But explain the difference there, and why that occurred. Why is that occurred, that division?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up. That was a point that we was going to mention later on, but since you already mentioned it, we'll definitely I'll elaborate right now.
Very good.
First of all, it's incorrect to divide Muslims into Sunni and Shia. That's totally incorrect. There's no way in the Quran, as well as in the Sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad, or let's say the Hadith or the narrations on the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, there's nowhere where the Muslims are divided to Sunni and Shia. The Prophet Muhammad actually said that the Muslims would divide into 73 groups. He says, ستفترق أمتي على 73 فرقة كلها في النار إلا واحدة. قالوا ما هن؟ قال أو ما هي؟ قالوا ما هي؟ قال الجماعة. Right? And the Prophet Muhammad said that my nation would divide into 73 groups. He said all of them are threatened with the hellfire except for one. So, of course, his companions who were with him at that time, they wanted to know who is this one group because they did not want to be threatened with being punished in the hellfire. They wanted to do what was correct. So he said they are the congregation. And in another narration, which is like an explanation, he said, ما كان عليه أنا اليوم وأصحابي. Or ما أنا عليه اليوم وأصحابي. He said, what I am upon today and my companions. So just like in Christianity, and I don't want to make, that's one thing, I don't want to make this a comparison between Islam and Christianity. It's not a debate about Islam or Christianity, which one is right. So that's something I don't want to do. I just want to clarify what the Quran as well as the Hadith teach us about what Islam is. So Islam is the correct practice and understanding of Islam is how the Prophet Muhammad and his companions had practiced during a time when revelation had descended upon him. And then he also, the Prophet Muhammad mentioned that for us, that we as Muslims, that we would see the Muslims differ. They would end up differing amongst themselves. So he said, alaykum bi sunnati. So he said, follow my way, wa sunnati al-khulafa ar-rashidin. Then he said, follow the righteous guided khulafa or caliphs. So what was done during that time and the Muslims had agreed upon, that was Islam. So anyone who deviates from that is from amongst the 72 groups. And what we would call extremists, they're not fundamentalists. They deviated. Okay? They deviated from the fundamentals. Okay? Depending on what their extremism is. Now, the scholars say that those 72 groups, they derive from 5 different groups. They've derived from 5 ideologies. The first group is called the Khawarij. Okay. The second group is called the Shia. And then you have another group called the Murji'ah. Then you have the Mu'tazila. And then you have the Sufis. Those are the 5 groups. Any of the 72 groups, they adopted something from those 5. Now, out of the 2 groups that fight over power are the Khawarij and the Shia. Those are the two political groups. Okay, those are the 2 political groups. But those 2 groups, they deviated from what the Prophet Muhammad was upon.
So let me ask you a question. So the Shia supposedly were those who believed that Muhammad's son-in-law would be the leader of the Shia. And then I believe it was his uncle or Abu Bakr who was the founder of the Sunni. And what's interesting is I've never heard of the 70, the various other aspects of Islam, but this is an example of where you can give us some knowledge and some education so that, because clearly in the presentation that Bill put out, he clearly talks about, and most people talk about, most Westerners, most Christians talk about the Sunni versus the Shia. So this is very interesting. But But was that the origination? Is that how the Shia came about? Because they thought that Muhammad's son-in-law would be the rightful predecessor?
No, that's
Mm-hmm.
not how they originated. They originated through a Jew who had converted to Islam, but he only converted to Islam because he wanted to destroy Islam internally. His name was Abdullah ibn Saba. He was from Yemen. And yes, so he was the one who came up with the ideology that Ali, he even went to the extreme to even say that Ali was God. And Ali himself, which is the Prophet's cousin, as well as his son-in-law, even was searching for him to, to actually, jail him and, stop him from spreading this concept in Islam, because it totally goes against the fundamental beliefs of Islam, because we only believe in there's only one God, which is the creator of the heavens and earth. So he was the one who actually started the Shia. But before that, which the people were not known to be Shia, because the word Shia comes from the word tashayyur, which means like ta'yid, which means to assist. And they were, because one thing I want to mention before I forget. Abu Bakr he's not the founder of the Sunni. We clarified that because the Prophet Muhammad said that his ummah, or the Muslims, were divided into 73 groups. Okay, the Prophet Muhammad, he is the founder of the Sunni, which is Islam. So the Muslims are divided into Sunni or Bid'i, meaning that either they're following what the Prophet Muhammad came with, or they're following a deviation. Okay, they may be they may be following majority of what is Islam, but they deviated in one or two things, or both. Either they deviated in their beliefs, or they deviated in their in worship, or how they worship. So they deviated in both aspects, either beliefs or in worship. So this is what will consider them to be deviants from away from the Sunnah, because the Sunnah is the way of the Prophet Muhammad. That's what he came with. That's why he said, "Alaykum bisunnati," upon you is my way. He was the one he was the prophet. He was sent with the Quran and its explanation, which is the Sunnah. And this is what Muslims are supposed to follow. And now there are not different variations of Islam. There's only one Islam. But Muslims are divided. Right. And Islam is what, like the Prophet Muhammad said in that narration, what I am upon and what my companions are upon today. That is it. That is what is Islam. And that is fundamentalism. Right. And the Shia, they deviated from that. And what started the domino effect, right, was that the third caliph, whose name is Uthman, he was assassinated. And he was assassinated by some Muslims who believed that they understood Islam more or better than the Prophet Muhammad's companions that were still living at that time. So they felt that Uthman was doing things that was opposed Islam. So they assassinated him. And he didn't fight back.
Khaleel, let me ask you a couple of questions to clarify a few things in the thinking of the audience. And that would be, a caliph means leader, correct?
Caliph, the caliph,
Caliph.
Caliph.
And I want, every religion has its basis for authority, where it gets its authority. Now, we know of the Quran. Now, the Quran, are they the recitations of what Muhammad was given and they were written down. He didn't actually write them down, but he transposed them, or he orally gave them, and then they were written down. That's the aspect of the inspiration aspect. And then you have the hadith, which is what comprises the hadith. So explain to us the difference. What is the Quran? What is the hadith? What is the Sirah? And what are the basis of authority, these written books? What are the basis of authority of Islam?
Okay, so you have the Quran. The Quran is the word of God. And it's just like the Torah, the Gospels of Jesus, the Psalms of David, the Scriptures of Abraham, and many other books that were revealed to prophets before Muhammad. That is the word of God. God sent down books as instruction for mankind on how to believe properly in the unseen, as well as also how to live, okay, and how to worship him, how to be humble to God, how to worship him. So the Quran is the last of all the books that I just mentioned. And the Quran clearly states that there were many books, and but the main ones, which is, like I mentioned, the Torah, the Gospels of Jesus, and the Psalms of David, the Scriptures of Abraham. And the Quran does not contradict the books that came before, but the Quran is the only book, according to the Quran, okay, according to what the Quran says, that is the only book that remains in its original form, and is amongst human beings, and is in its original form, and God himself will protect it from ever being tampered with. Inna nahnu nazzalna dhikra wa inna lahu lahafidhun. We send down a revelation and we will protect it. Whereas the books before, God left it up to human beings to protect it. Then also the Quran, the Quran, there are different rulings in the Quran that are more or less general. Like God says, pray. But he doesn't tell you how to pray. So God sent down another revelation, which is an explanation of how to pray, how to give charity, how to fast, how to make pilgrimage to Mecca properly, and other, other acts of worship. Also, other ways to, do business, and so on and so forth, right? So that's called the Sunnah, which is actually Revelation 2. And the Sunnah is whatever the Prophet Muhammad said, did, and he approved of. Now, where do we find the Sunnah? We find the Sunnah in Hadith. So the Hadith is a narration of the Sunnah. And that's another thing, Bill, he kind of was a little sarcastic. He said that the Sunnah is like stories. He said the Hadith are like stories, not stories, because stories are narrations and the intent behind it is for, amusement. Okay. And they're not stories. It's a narration. It's a narration of what the Prophet Muhammad said. And what he said could have been something that refers to how Muslims should believe. And that might agree, not agree, but be the same as what is already in the Quran, or it might be something that the Quran didn't mention. Okay. And then also his actions. So like the Prophet Muhammad would show them how to do ablution before you pray. That's not, it's not mentioned in detail in the Quran. So he would actually perform it. And the companions that were there, they narrated it. Okay. And then how he prayed. So the Sunnah, so our two sources where we get our religion from is the Quran and the Sunnah, and that's it. The Sirah, which you're pronouncing it incorrectly, it's called the Sirah. Yeah,
that's no surprise.
The Sirah is, first of all, the Sirah. Yeah. The Sirah is not a source unless it's supported by the Quran or Hadith. They're in the Sirah are in books that have not been authenticated by scholars of Hadith, and that was one of my majors, where I learned how to actually authenticate Hadith. There's a whole science behind it.
Now, what does the word Hadith mean?
The word Hadith is, originally it means like something. Hadith is something that's new, right? But it also means Hadith is like what we're having a Hadith right now. We're having a conversation,
right?
Okay, so they're actually narration, but it's a Hadith or narrations or speech of what the Prophet Muhammad said, did. Now the Hadith is also in the Hadith. Also in the Hadith, the narrators may mention things about the Prophet Muhammad, what he did, or before he became a prophet. Okay, and then also they may mention in Hadith like certain physical appearances of the Prophet Muhammad, his mannerism. You can also find that in Hadith as well. Okay.
Now, Khaleel, what does the word Quran mean, and what does the word Sunnah mean?
Yeah, the word Quran, it originates from the word qira'ah, which is what? Recitation, or it also means reading or recitation.
Right.
Okay. And the Sunnah actually means like tariq. It means a path or way. Like in the Hadith, like one Hadith says, "Man sanna fi Islam sunnatan hasana." Whoever does a way or a thing that until the end of the narration. So it's like a tariq. It's like a path.
Right.
But that's the we have the linguistic meaning, and then we have the meaning of the word, how it was understood in the religion. Like, for example, the word salah. If you ask any Muslim, what is salah? He's going to say, oh, it's prayer. And I know most of the world have seen how Muslims pray. But that's the religious understanding of what salah is. But linguistically, it doesn't mean that. It means dua. It means what? It means to supplicate. But even though supplication is part of the salah.
Very good. Now, Khaleel, I want you and Saleem to identify some of the other points that you wanted to make in relation to Bill's presentation, so that we can get a grasp of what it is that we need to be doing our research and learning from. And we're already learning a lot. I've already learned a few things I didn't know. So with the time that we have left, I want you to make sure you get your points out that you were concerned about.
So the other issue that I considered to be problematic was the issue regarding the prophet synthesizing in relation to taking bits and pieces from various religions and making his own out of it. I felt that was a little inaccurate. Not little, but I felt that was inaccurate completely. And Khaleel can give the substance to why.
No, so, excuse me, gentlemen. Saleem, say that again. What did you say? Synchronize, or I didn't get that word.
Synthesizing.
Okay.
Synthesizing. It's the process of combining various of things to make
yes.
one. Right.
I got you. Synthesizing. Very good.
I'm sorry.
Very good. We don't have the best audio here, but synthesized. You thought Bill was synthesizing Muhammad to a far degree. And what is your what do you propose is more accurate?
Well, he said that the Prophet Muhammad actually took from other religions that were, or beliefs that were in the region, and this is how he came up with Islam. First of all, this is not something that's new. The Quran actually addresses this. You know, it says that the verses وَلَقَدْ نَعْلَمُ إِنَّهُمْ يَقُولُونَ إِنَّمَا يُعَلِّمُهُ بَشَرٌ. It's saying, the Quran says that we know, I mean, God's saying that we know that they say, meaning the pagan Arabs, that it's a human being who's teaching him. Okay. And then he mentions like that, lisanu alladhi yulhiduna ilayhi ajami, and the one that is teaching him, or the one that they're referring to him, is a non-Arab. Wahada lisanu arabiyyun mubin, and this is like the Quran is in Arabic. So if he was learning from someone who was not Arab, then the Quran would be actually in another language. But there's a hadith that actually really would clarify and debunked what he said. When the Prophet Muhammad first received revelation, and this hadith, we're going to deal with some other issues that Bill mentioned that refutes and debunks what he said as well. The same hadith, that after he received revelation, he informed his wife what had happened to him when he was in the cave of Hira. So she went and told her cousin, who was Khadija. Yeah, Khadija. Right? Khadija bint Khuwaylid. Yeah, Khadija bint Khuwaylid. She informed her cousin, his name was Waraqa ibn Nawfal. And Waraqa ibn Nawfal was an Arab Christian, and he was very, very knowledgeable and very well read. Okay. And
was he the Ebonite? Was he an Ebonite? I'm not reading up on.
Oh, I'm not sure. I'm not even familiar with the word Ebonite anyway.
Cousin. Now, go ahead. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah. So the hadith clearly states that he said to him that what you came with, right, is the namus that was sent to Musa. So now he's saying that what you came with, Muhammad, what my cousin more or less informed me of, what happened to you, and what was told, what was told to you, in the cave, that it is the same. What you've been given is the same what was given to Moses. And he said, I hope I'm alive when your people kick you out, when they expel you. And that's another thing, because Bill said that the Prophet Muhammad was expelled because he was a troublemaker. That's not the case. Or he was causing trouble in Mecca. He said, I hope that I'm alive when your people expel you. And he said, so he asked them, are they going to, expel me? The Prophet Muhammad said that, are they going to expel me? He said, there's no one who comes with what you came with or you were given, except for that their people will expel them. And we know that's true, because that's what happened to Abraham. That's what happened to Moses. That's what happened to Jesus. When they came with pure monotheism and they preached to their people, they were expelled. So he said that if I'm alive, I'm going to assist you. So he's saying this is someone who's well read. He was a Christian Arab. What you came with is the same as what Musa or Moses came with. And if you read the Quran, the most mentioned prophet in the Quran is Moses.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of what the Prophet Muhammad was going to go through in his life was more similar to Moses than any other prophet. And then the Muslims themselves would actually later on do the same as what Moses's or those Moses's followers or those who came after Moses, they would make the same mistakes as they did. So the Quran is showing us like, this is what happened to them. Don't make the same mistake. Okay.
Very good.
Yeah. So that was incorrect.
Now, what other points would you like to make, Saleem, in relation to Bill's presentation?
Okay. So to add on to that, we get to the issue of Islam being a religion that works from the outside in as opposed to the inside out. It appeared as if he made a comparison between Christianity being a religion that works from the inside out and Islam being a religion that works from the outside in. That was the depiction that I got, that footage. I felt that was also not only inaccurate, I felt that was also misleading.
Now sorry.
No, I'm sorry, Khaleel. I was just going to say that, talking about from the inside out, meaning that, this idea which is propagated, and we didn't want to get into a discussion or a debate on Christianity, but Christianity has this understanding that, you have to accept Christ, you have to make a decision, and all these things, which I believe are biblically incorrect. I believe that God is sovereign in salvation. And that, and what you're also saying is that a person is influenced from the outside to become a Muslim, but that could also be said for Christianity, in that God is the one who identifies or who saves the person, or changes the person's, renews the thinking of the person, causes the person to repent, and so forth. So I understand exactly what you're saying there, as far as, does it come from the outside or is it generated from within the person? So I just wanted to make that clarification. Khaleel, take it from there.
Yeah, everything in Islam, I believe in probably every other religion as well. That was the first time I ever heard that type of concept, that of a way of life or belief or religion would start from the outside in. But Islam definitely starts from the inside out. Everything starts from your heart first. Okay, everything starts here in the heart. The Quran clearly states that. The Prophet Muhammad mentioned that there's a morsel of flesh in your body, and if it's healthy and if it's good, your whole body's going to be healthy and good. And if it's corrupted, your whole body's going to, or if it's ill, then your whole body's going to be ill. And he said, isn't that the heart? Everything starts with the heart. Then there's another narration. He says, innamal a'malu binniyat, that actions are judged by their intentions. He also mentioned, which I should have mentioned some ayats first. He mentioned that inna Allah la yanzuru ila ajsamikum wala ila amwalikum walakin yanzuru ila qulubikum wa amalikum. He said that God doesn't look at or judge you by your physical appearance or by your wealth. He judges you by what's in your heart and your actions. And then the Quran mentions that man kafara billahi min ba'di imanihi illa man ukriha wa qalbuhu mutma'innu bil iman. He said that the Quran states that if any individual disbelieves in God after his, he believed, that except for the one who is forced to say that he disbelieves, but his heart contradicts that. So everything starts in the heart. So I don't know where he got that concept from, that Islam starts from the outside and totally goes against Islam. And I think any Muslim knows that everything starts from the heart in and out.
Right. Of course, Christ talked about the fact that all manner of evil proceeded from the heart. And that's where the evil comes from, out of our hearts. And but again, let's give me a couple more points that you'd like to make, Saleem, that you found that were inaccurate in Bill's presentation.
So the issue of Mecca and Medina,
mm-hmm.
which as he described was the Muslims, or Muhammad rather, getting kicked out of either or. I think he was getting kicked out of Mecca,
mm-hmm.
and because he was causing trouble, and then subsequent to that, he was giving orders to his peers, or his companions rather, to start
mm-hmm.
posting in a particular area so that he can rob the caravans that was going back to either Mecca or Medina.
Mm-hmm.
So I felt that was a major issue right there, because that leads to other things as well, which would be the next point that I would give if time permits. But for now, that was another issue that was a problem.
Yeah, I want to make sure you get your points out that you're discovering. So what you're saying is that you question the fact that Muhammad was kicked out of Mecca, and then the period of time from Mecca to Medina, isn't that called the Hijra, in which he was on the journey?
Hijra.
The Hijra.
Yeah.
So that's an important part of.
My issue is this. I mean, me and Khaleel arrived at the same conclusion in regards
mm-hmm.
to the presentation lacking, like I said earlier,
right.
A certain degree of authenticity. We both came to that conclusion. However, my take on the biggest pet peeve that I have with the presentation was that I not only felt that it lacked authenticity, I felt that it
mm-hmm.
lacked a high degree of context. And whenever you articulate events and stories and situations mm-hmm. and encounters, especially if you're given a historical analysis to back it up, or
mm-hmm.
a historical analysis to buffer your point, context becomes instrumental to the clarification of what's actually taking place. I felt context was extremely lacking in the presentation. I just didn't mm-hmm. know how you can go from this encounter to that encounter without giving context. So one of my purposes of even calling you and having this discussion was for Khaleel to, provide context to those particular issues, because there may be some things that he was saying that was accurate conceptually, but the fact that it lacks context, it can cause people to have a misunderstanding on the actual true nature of what took place.
Yeah,
certainly. And I can understand, because, Bill's presentation is very, very, there's a lot there. I mean, it's just tons of information, and context does play a part in what is being said. And that means you got to slow things down and provide that context, as opposed to just, putting forth information. But this is why it's important that we have a dialogue, that we discuss these things. I've already learned a few things from talking to Khaleel and you, Saleem, and I think it's important to provide the opposing view, if you will, as upon what Bill presented, and that's the whole point of this discussion. But I can understand that when you're trying to get so much information out there, sometimes you have to provide context before you can move on to another topic. And there is a lot of different topics in that presentation. So I do understand your point in that regard. But again, so Khaleel, what are your thoughts on the context?
Oh, well, going back, he had mentioned certain fundamentalist groups, such as the Salafis. He mentioned Wahhabi, He mentioned Taliban. He mentioned Yaqul al-Qaeda, but they're al-Qaeda. He mentioned Hezbollah. And he mentioned different groups and said they were fundamentalists. None of them are fundamentalists except for the Salafis. Okay. To a degree. Okay. Because as for the Taliban and Hezbollah, these are two movements that were came into existence. Well, more or less, not Hezbollah. Hamas. Hamas and the Taliban are two movements that came into existence because they wanted to defend their homeland. Okay, and they're made up of different individuals. Okay. As for Yaqul al-Qaeda, which is al-Qaeda, they have the ideology that derived from the first group of deviants amongst the Muslims, which is called the Khawarij. Okay, Hezbollah, they're Shia, another group of deviants. And then the Wahhabis.
How about ISIS, Khaleel? They're this.
ISIS also is comes from the Khawarij as well. It's a deviant group. They're a group. They're a political. Their ideology is political, and the way their ideology connects to politics is because in Islam we believe that our faith, right, is, or the word iman, what it means is belief in the heart. That's where it starts. And then that belief in the heart, if it's, that belief in the heart will show from your statements. Just like you're a constitutional Republican, you believe in, that Americans should be following the Constitution. And this is why you have your podcasts. Okay. You're preaching. Okay. So it's going to show what you believe in your chest. It's going to show from your statements as well as in your actions. But but this group here, the Khawarij, they believe that if you sin or you do a major sin, that erases, that nullifies what's in your heart. And that's extreme. Okay, because someone can do an action that he believes is incorrect. Okay, so the way they connected with politics, they say that the leaders, they're not ruling by Islam. So since they're not ruling by Islam, they're not Muslims anymore. So we have to remove them. And then we have to fight against anybody else who assists them and helps them to stay in their positions. So that's like ISIS, Al-Qaeda, these groups. They're from the Khawarij. Okay.
And they don't properly represent the intent of Islam and what Muhammad taught, correct?
Not at all. And they're not Sunnis, because if when we go back to saying that Muslims are divided into Sunni and Shia, then that means we're saying ISIS and Al-Qaeda or Al-Qaeda is from the Sunni. And that's not true. They're not Sunnis.
Well, it's very, very interesting.
And then I'll go.
Sorry, one
more point.
Sure.
Sorry, one more point. The Wahhabis, Wahhabism. There's no such thing. This is a concept you hear on the news all the time, and there's no such thing. Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab, he was a scholar of Islam, and just like there were other scholars in Africa, like Uthman bin Fodio as well, they were trying to revive the correct beliefs and worship, or just the correct understanding of Islam in their areas. And the people who and Muhammad, so that people try to refer to people who are propagating, going back to the fundamentals or the foundation of Islam, they call them Wahhabis. And Muhammad Abdul Wahhab didn't start that. It goes back to the Prophet Muhammad, like he said, Inni ni'ma salafu ana leki. He told his daughter before he died, he said, I am the best predecessor for you.
Mm-hmm.
So to follow him, that is our first predecessor, and then his companions. So that's what the Salafis, their thing is, we're going to practice Islam according to what's in the Quran and what is in the Sunnah, which is we find in the authentic Hadith, the way that the Prophet Muhammad and his companions followed it. And that's not extreme, because in the Sunnah, because another thing Bill mentioned was that these fundamentalists, they justify killing women and children. The Prophet Muhammad clearly, one time there was a battle, and the Hadith mentions, which is imra'atun maqtulatan. There was a fi ba'd al-maghazi. There was some women that were found killed in some of the battles. فَأَنْكَرَ رَسُولُ اللَّهِ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ قَتْلَ النِّسَاءِ وَالصِّبْيَانِ. And then another narration said, فَنَهَا عَنْ قَتْلِ النِّسَاءِ وَالصِّبْيَانِ. The Prophet Muhammad said, when he seen that some of these women were killed accidentally, he prohibited. He said, you cannot kill women and children. Even to the point when he used to send Abu Bakr out, as well as other companions, you can't kill women and children. You cannot kill people who are like priests, monks, rabbis, people who are not involved in the war. You can't kill them. Okay? You can't, like, let's say there's a mechanic, somebody who's in the military, and he's just a mechanic. You don't pick up a gun. He's just a mechanic. Islamically, you can't kill him. Right? He's told us don't destroy the crops. Don't even kill the animals. And he said, and don't kill elderly people. So these are well-known, authentic narrations. And if these people are fundamentalists, then they will follow that. So like suicide bombing, like it's called, it's suicide. And Islam totally denounces killing yourself. Not only just killing yourself, you can't kill innocent people. Totally denounces that. So they're not fundamentalists, they're extremists. Or deviants.
So it's right. So it's important for us to realize that those who are practicing, who believe in Islam, true Islam, they are the fundamentalists. They are the ones who believe in treating, believing in equality, believing in mercy, believing in love, believing in justice. And that the religion has been hijacked in many ways by these extremists who are interested in bloodlust. And this is one thing that I think is very important to get out of this discussion, is that we haven't understood what the word fundamentalist means. But gentlemen, as we wind down, I want to make sure that you get all of your points out on the table. So are there any more, Saleem, that you'd like to present?
Well, Saleem, we didn't hit the point about the Prophet Muhammad with the caravans. Number one, the Muslims were they were persecuted in Mecca. Okay. And Bill had mentioned that the Prophet Muhammad only had like 70 something followers, which is totally off, because we have where it was 88 Muslims have made their first hijrah or migration to Ethiopia, because the first migration of Muslims was to Ethiopia, not to the city of Medina. Okay. The Prophet Muhammad did not migrate there. There were other Muslims who didn't have support in Mecca. So they left and went to Ethiopia. And he said that there is a just king there who was a Christian. Okay. And they migrated there. And they were, at least the second time that they went, there was at least 88 people. Okay. There were much more people who were in Mecca. So there were much more followers of the Prophet Muhammad during that time. So they were persecuted and they were expelled only because they denounced the pagan beliefs and practices. That was the only reason. They didn't start any trouble there. They didn't break any statues. that was in the Kaaba, they didn't do none of that.
Mm-hmm.
And another issue he mentioned, he said the black stone was a meteorite from it was a meteorite, and the Arabs used to, the Arabs believed that was a meteorite, and they used to worship the moon, which is not true. The Arabs did not worship, their main god was not the moon. Their main god, as the Quran mentions, that their main gods was Lat, which was like a tree, Uzza, which was like a boulder, and then you have Manah. These were, and they were located in different parts of the Arabian Peninsula, and the Arabs used to go there and do their pagan practices. So they did not worship the moon. The moon is not a symbol for Islam. The moon is only used for the purpose of calculating the days of a month, because we follow a lunar calendar, just like the Chinese do, and just like the Hebrew people do. Okay?
Hebrews too.
Exactly. They follow a lunar calendar. Arabs, that was not their main god. They was not worshiping the moon. The Quran clearly, the Hadith, because the time is short, that it's just used to calculate the month.
Those Arabians were called the Sabaeans, correct? Who believed in those?
No,
they
those
called
they were more. Those are out of Persia. They worshipped the stars.
Okay.
They were worshiping
the Sabaeans were in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, they were worshiping stars. Sabi'un, in Arabic. They were worshiping the stars. They were more out of Persia. So they were expelled, and they could not take their possessions with them. They had to leave their houses, and their possessions, their wealth, and they left.
Allahu Akbar,
right?
Allahu Akbar.
Excuse me, sorry about that. So once they got to Medina, which he made another distortion or mistake that he made. He said that they went to a Jewish town, which is not true. That town was an Arab town, Yathrib, later to be known as Medina, and it was a town that was controlled by two tribes, Khazraj and Aus, and the Jews lived amongst them. They accepted Islam, some of them in the year 11, and then they came back in the year 12, according to the lunar calendar. They came back, and they had more people with them, and they gave allegiance to the Prophet Muhammad. And then the Prophet Muhammad sent Mus'ab ibn Umair with them to go back to Medina to teach them Islam. And the Jews had already told them prior, because this is why they accepted Islam, because they said that there was going to be a prophet who was going to be sent here. But the Jews thought that he was going to be from the children of Israel and not from the Arabs. That's why they rejected the Prophet Muhammad. But some of them believed, like Abdullah ibn Salam. So when they went back, it spread all through Medina. The Prophet Muhammad didn't spread Islam through Medina. He didn't go. He was still in Mecca. So what he said was just totally incorrect. They accepted. They came back. They gave allegiance and said that he was going to be their leader, because that was their town. And then he migrated there, and then he made an agreement with the Jews that they can live there, remain there, as long as they respect the agreement between them and, the Muslims.
Right. Khaleel, let me ask you a question. So year one in the Islamic calendar would be commiserate with 624 AD, correct?
Is it 624? Was it 520?
Or was it, did
I think it's 623. I think it's 623.
Okay, and wasn't that commiserate with when Muhammad was first reportedly given the revelations?
Yeah, because he was born in he was born in 570 and he received revelation at 40.
Okay. 610.
Yeah, somewhere around there, yeah.
So what's the significance of the beginning of the Islamic year in 623? What occurred at that time to begin the calendar?
Well, the calendar that occurred after the Prophet Muhammad's death.
Mm-hmm.
For the Muslims for the Muslims to have a calendar, and they use the same Arabic months. And that's another mistake that he made. He said that the Arabs, there was only 1 month where they didn't fight, which is not true because it's 4 months, which is Dhul Qa'dah, the Hijjah, Muharram, and Rajab, which is mentioned in the Quran, Minha Arbatun Huram, and in the authentic Hadith. So that was another mistake because it was 4 sacred months. So those are on the lunar calendar. So they decided to start with the month of Muharram. I think it was during the time of Umar. During the time of Umar is when they came up with when to start the calendar and which month. But they kept the months. But they said, okay, this is going to be the first month, and then our calendar is going to start from the time when the Prophet, from when they made the migration, because the Arabs before, the way that they used to know when certain events, when they calculated more like years, depending on an event that happened that year. Like the Prophet Muhammad said that he was born during a time when the king of Ethiopia attacked the Kaaba. Or he came from out of Yemen, Abraha. So they just knew by events, like we would say the year of the Revolutionary War or something like that. But they didn't have no set calendar. So this is when the Muslims came up and said, this is going to be our calendar and it's going to start here. Yeah, and it was during the time of Omar.
Well, listen, gentlemen, what I think we should do is to have another conversation in the near future. And I have a couple of more questions, and I'll give you a couple of hints to what I'd like to talk about next time, because I think this is important and it's informative. We want to make sure that we're accurate. We want to make sure that we're historically accurate. We have a great desire for truth. Truth is something that has to be dug for, worked for. It takes a lot of effort. It just doesn't fall out of the sky, if you will. You have to do a lot of work and research. And I appreciate both of you gentlemen coming on and giving us another point of view, and the points that you made that what you discovered or what you found in Bill's presentation that weren't accurate. Appreciate you bringing them forth. But I'd like to have another discussion, maybe to further talk about Bill's video. But I want to learn more about Dahwa. Is that how it's pronounced?
You said Taqwa?
Yeah. D-A-W-A, right?
D-A.
Dawa.
Dawa. Okay.
All right. And then I want to talk about what you believe jihad means, because we hear a lot about that word, but maybe we're not so much, we don't quite understand it. But that's for the next time. So people will make sure to join us again to learn. But gentlemen, I want to give Khaleel and Saleem, both of you, give us the last word.
Okay. The most important point that we didn't discuss was that there are some Muslims that they decided to attack America on 9/11 because that date is very significant to certain Muslims, because Muslims had were defeated or they on those dates.
Right.
Number one, we follow a lunar calendar, like we said. So dates on a Gregorian calendar or a solar calendar are not significant to us, right? So 9/11 wouldn't be significant. We know that Muslims throughout history have lost many, many battles. So why that specific date? I have no reason why. And then that's something I don't think can even be proven unless he has some evidence that shows that the Muslims or those who are accused of attacking America on 9/11, that they said that we did it because Muslims lost battles on 9/11. Now, me and Saleem, we're African Americans, and you're a constitutional Republican, and Muslims have been here from the beginning, because we know one third of the slaves were Muslims. Okay. And if this is a concept in Islam of 9/11, why weren't Muslims, attacking America on 9/11? We have Muslims that help, fight during this, during the Civil War, and afterwards. So like, why 9/11? I'm a Muslim, and you heard my credentials as well as Saleem, and this is the first time we even heard that 9/11. It was Muslims they lost the battle, so on that day, and it's very dangerous, because that's saying that there are Muslims out there who, because of Muslims, experiencing defeat on that day, that they wanted to hurt or people in the West, and seek revenge on that specific date, and all it does is install fear in Americans about something that's just not true at all. It's not true. Unless
I certainly appreciate the information that you're discussing tonight with us, Khaleel, and it gets back to what I always say, is that there's a lot more that meets the eye, and there's a lot more that meets the ear. And it takes a lot of diligence in looking for truth, and it's something that never ends. But Saleem, what do you have to say to sign us off with?
Well, in closing, I would just like to say I appreciate you giving us this opportunity to come on your platform and to kind of give our version of events. Well, not really our version of events, but kind of to demonstrate the position of the text and to follow what the text position is. So with that being said, I just appreciate it, JR, and hopefully, we'll talk, I'm pretty sure, after this, and hopefully we can get back to our regular program.
Yeah. Yes, but I really appreciate Saleem, you wanting to do this, and Khaleel for speaking up as you did. And we had a very good conversation, and I think it was very informative for many. And I think we should do it again. I think we should continue. I've got more questions. I think there are a lot of people out there that have certain misconceptions. And I think Khaleel can clear a lot of this up as far as our understanding of certain words and certain teachings. So I want to do this again, and I think the people will appreciate another broadcast. I want to thank both of you gentlemen for being with me tonight and presenting what you did and looking at the video that Bill did, and then pointing out the inaccuracies within the video as you see it. And I think it's important that we discuss these things, and we want the truth. We want to find what the truth is. Of course, it takes a lot of effort to do that. And as I end the show, as we do with all of our shows, Saleem and Khaleel, I just want to make mention of what Abraham Lincoln said. And he said that the creation of this country and the founding documents were not an accident. He was by no means a Darwinian. He definitely believed in the sovereignty of God. And he said that the Constitution and the Union weren't the only reasons, or not necessarily the main reasons for the success of the nation and prosperity, but it was what was entwining, what was in the heart, and that was the idea of liberty to all, which also incidentally meant freeing the slaves, ending the abomination of slavery and injustice. And that desire precipitated the beginning of a great civil war that eventually led to the emancipation of slavery. And then the idea of liberty to all is extended to everyone that gives hope to all, everyone equally, and then by consequence gives enterprise and industry to all. And that's what we're able to do in being an advocate or being an educator or being a teacher and being whatever it is that your occupation is that you want to do. And it's all about the principle of liberty. And that's something that I know all three of us certainly agree on.
And yeah, us fundamentalists, because I'm a fundamentalist as well as Saleem, and we acknowledge that. Like we mentioned that the Prophet Muhammad had sent some of the Muslims to Ethiopia. He said there's a just king there, and they lived there, and the people were Christians, and they lived there as Muslims, and they didn't cause any harm to the people that were there, and the people there allowed them to practice their religion. And America does the same for us. You know, America does the same for a Muslim can live here and practice his religion, you know, more than a lot of countries. You know, there's nothing here that, you know, really a Muslim, you know, cannot, you know, practice from his religion. And if you're a fundamentalist, you know, then you have to follow the example of the Prophet Muhammad's companions when they lived in Ethiopia. And if you don't, you've deviated, you know. And you're going against the Prophet Muhammad and his companions. And thank you.
Well, thank you, Khaleel. Thank you, Saleem. We'll do this again. We'll set it up. Very informative, and there's more questions and more discussion that we can have. And I thank the audience for joining us. I hope they will like and share this video. The whole idea is to educate, and that's what we hope we did tonight, and I think we did. So thank you, gentlemen. And remember, as we sign off, liberty to all. Thank you very much.
You got it, JR. Okay.
Thank you.